Hey everybody, welcome back to Leosity. This is the first in the preservation series, and I'd like to talk about, for the first preservation strategy, something that's not even really preservation. It's just a little known fact regarding the storage of a lot of vegetables, particularly root vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, things like that. A lot of people don't realize that you can store them without any kind of preservation method for quite some time, sometimes the whole winter, as long as you keep them in a cool, dry place, preferably a place where it kind of sort of simulates being underground, but not to the degree that they start growing full fruiting bodies and using up all their nutrients and dying. And some ways about doing this, in the case of sweet potatoes, some really, really tough squash like cushaw and winter squashes, and well, let's start with that. Keeping those just in a cool, dry, elevated place with a lot of airflow can make them last a long time. And then if some dough get soft or moldy, removing them will discourage the others from doing the same. So those are things that can be kept just in relatively cool weather. Like we're talking like 60, 65 degrees, which is how I tend to keep things anyway. But a root cellar, that's exactly the whole point of it, is it you can store a lot of vegetation and they'll last a tremendous amount of time, weeks, maybe months. And so something I'm all over. And then similarly, potatoes and onions, if you can simulate their growing conditions, they tend to stay fresh as well. The big thing that's bad for potatoes and onions is ultraviolet light exposure. If you expose them to ultraviolet light, the potatoes will grow toxic, actually. They'll start producing those alkaloids that's in the leaves and stems. And in the case of onions, they'll just rot. They'll just get soft and gross. And you can always plant them when they're soft and gross, and they might regenerate and come back, as a healthy onion. But you're better off taking potting soil or mulch or just anything that blocks out UV light that simulates dirt itself, which topsoil is compost. Pretty much that's what that is. But if you can put that in a container, like a barrel, where you layer these potatoes and onions between, not mixed, by the way. I don't really know what would happen if you mix the two together. It would increase the likelihood of some sort of cross-contamination, so I wouldn't personally do that. But if you take a barrel or a crate or even a series of, what are those little platforms called? Why can't I think of that? Oh my God, I'm going to have to look that up. I can't believe I can't think of what that is. I do not know why my brain just deleted the word pallets. Wooden pallets. Wow. I literally, that's what I keep my beehives on. Anyway, if you stack onions or potatoes on wood pallets and then just cover it in a big heap of dirt, you can keep it preserved borderline indefinitely. What'll happen is the onions will grow longer roots and maybe a little bit of a shoot, and the potatoes will definitely form tubers and eyes and all that. But you can just cut that off whenever it's time to make use of it. So it's not really an issue. It does take some of the energy from those plants, but a very modest amount. And it's a great way, like I said, to preserve it so that you can make use of it all year without the need of freezing, canning, drying, jellying, or fermenting, which those are going to be the subsequent episodes. So the thing to take home here is preserving food doesn't necessarily mean taking any actual steps to preserve it in the sense that we often think of it. It can simply be putting them in conditions where they're just less likely to die, and as a result, less likely to decompose. Because that's really the issue with fruits and vegetables is once they die, that's when decomposition sets in. When they're alive and healthy, it doesn't. So if you can keep them alive and healthy, in the case of root vegetables, simulating what normal conditions are, and in the case of certain fruits like squash and pumpkins and cushaw and sweet potatoes are roots, simply keeping them in conditions where decomposition is less likely. Again, well ventilated, cool, and dark areas. So that's all I got for this one. Root cellars, it's a really great investment if you have the capacity to do so. Like, share, subscribe, keep asking questions. Bye.